This video is brought to you by the lovely guys over at Robotoys. For all your Hasbro, Takara, third-party and knockoff desires, Robotoys has you covered. For 10% off, use the code DrLockdown 10% off at the checkout. Now on to today's diagnosis.
Read the disclaimer! On the other one, you bastard!
When people think of third-party legends these days, there are two candidates that primarily come to mind: Magic Square and New Age. Locked in an eternal battle, one focusing on perfectly accurate robot modes and vehicle modes, the other one focusing on much better engineering and build quality. And of course, mostly the latter wins out, but you forget, wasn't always the case between these two. New Age and Magic Square are fairly recent additions, and back in the day, the undisputed champions of third-party legends was Iron Factory. But when New Age and Magic Square first rose up, there were a few releases that kind of filled in the gaps and seemed disappointing. There were some fantastic releases like their DJD, but especially in 2018, 2019, they kind of stalled a bit. It was Autobot cars, and Autobot cars, and Autobot cars, and repaints and Autobot cars, and it just didn't seem that fun. However, recently there has been a shift that I have covered previously in a full review, and that figure was one of my favorites for the longest time. However, there was one that I got recently that took a while to get into, but when I did, I realized its true brilliance. It's the Return of the King, and my word, we have a wonderful release to finish this marathon off with. Now, I don't typically care about vehicle mode or robot mode accuracy to any specific sort of source material, but I do find it interesting that this guy is based on the Alex Milne IDW design that transforms into a Mini Cooper. Of course, this is more of an approximation of a Mini Cooper, but the design elements are there, especially in the paintwork. That is attention to detail. The paint is done quite well, with lovely white stripes here and lovely blue here. I feel the blue could have been a little bit lighter, but what we have is nice. But all around, it is a pretty simple and pretty fun car mode. It's your basic Iron Factory stuff, and I don't mean those kinds of boring car bots that we got for the past year or so. Like, there was a time in Iron Factory's lineup where they decided to make the car bots, and I guess redeco them into some of the cons as well, like in this case here, and they all seemed a bit samey, but this is not samey. This is cut from a different cloth. The details here are remarkable. Granted, it's not the cleanest car mode ever, especially in the front here. It's a bit gappy because of all the hinges, and also here as well is a bit gappy as well. Plus, this doesn't really tab in, it just kind of folds out there. It's not the greatest. But overall, for the size, it is remarkable, and they've done a lot here. Like even painting the taillights, that's pretty nice. Oh, they've also painted the exhaust, very nice. I guess that becomes the robot mode feet at the front there, so they kind of had to, so it didn't look boring. But Iron Factory loves putting in little details like this. There was a time where they kind of eased off on it, but this is right back into what they're best at. Now, he comes with 4 weapons, and one of them is already stored under there perfectly. Remarkable little thing. And the other 3, well, they combine and peg on the top, so you can have his bazooka with his 2 cannons on the top there. That is cool. Doesn't that just scream Iron Factory with their awesome fun factor combined with great mechanical detail? That is Iron Factory at its best. Now, size-wise, he is actually pretty small, coming in at 6.5 centimeters by 3.5 centimeters by 2.5 centimeters. So not the smallest thing in the world, but in terms of Iron Factory releases, he is pretty small. Obviously not as small as Windblade or Slipstream, but pretty tiny. Anyway, size-wise, here he's next to a standard Legion figure, and oh look, Bumblebee and Cliffjumper, buddies! A standard Legends figure, a standard Earthrise Micromaster, and Crumbs. Now, given his small size, you'd think that his transformation would be quite simple, but it's one of the more involved ones, in line with their Hound and their Leo convoy, with a lot of interesting moving parts that accomplishes a very nice robot mode. But at first, I thought it was a bit overcomplicated. This guy actually arrived 2 days after Thew released his review of it, and my opinion was kind of shaped by that, where I thought it was a bit full of itself. But after messing with it for a few days, this easily became one of my favorite Iron Factory transformations. It is very clever, yet very clean. First thing you want to do is just bring these arms out just a little bit. They won't come out all the way just yet, but that will allow you to bring the feet out and unhook it from the backpack and bring the legs out like that. And like every Cliffjumper on the planet and every Bumblebee on the planet worth its stuff, the wheels fold into the bottom. Well, I guess not everyone, but since the Masterpiece did it, everyone's been doing it. At this point, bring the arms down just a little bit, and before you forget, take out the weapon. We don't want to lose that, or I guess get it crushed inside the chest. You can then rotate this forward, bring the arms out a little bit so that there's enough space, fold this into the chest on the double hinge. Nice and clean. Then you use the double hinge here and fold it up onto the backpack. You bring the arm forward, bring this around to the back, and then put the fist out, as well as bring the shoulder pad up like that. A bit of a specific order of operations. Would have been nice if there was some more clearance to give you some leeway with that, but it's still pretty nice. Rotate the waist 180 degrees, and rotate the head around to reveal an amazing head sculpt. And that is a good Cliffjumper. This is cool. That, it's just the mechanical detail, the sculpting, the proportions, the paint. Not a lot of paint, but the paint that is here makes him look great. There are so many things to like about him. This is just a pretty damn awesome Cliffjumper. And granted, a lot of that comes down to the design. It is a fantastic design from Alex Milne, but Iron Factory has recreated it brilliantly. The head sculpt, my god, that head sculpt is perfectly Cliffjumper. It's got that rough attitude, yet it's able to be captured at such a small scale. Not a lot of paint, but the paint that is here is done quite well. Lovely and sharp, yet pretty chonky to show his rough and tumble attitude. The chest and shoulder combo, my word, that just looks amazing. Yeah, a lot of the gaps in the vehicle mode make sense now that they've managed to make this look so good. And yes, he has kibble on the arms, but it doesn't really matter at such a small scale. In general, there's very little kibble here. The backpack, yeah, that's a bit of kibble there, but that doesn't really matter. And the legs are surprisingly not very hollow either, given how much they compress in the vehicle mode. A lot of lovely detail. And it's extended by the articulation too. Ball joints at the head, hinges and ball joints at the shoulders. No ball joints at the shoulders, no, we got a bicep swivel and a proper bend that can act as a double joint thanks to the extra transformation joint in there. Very smart. Unimpeded waist swivel even though he has a backpack, my word. Ball joints here with thigh swivels. Unfortunately, there's only a single jointed knee. It does seem like it could be double, but you still get quite a bit of range there. Then you got a forward hinge on the foot and an ankle tilt that goes, wow, that is a ankle tilt right there. Like, I can't believe I thought this figure was overrated when I first got it. What was I thinking at the time? This guy, wow, absolutely magnificent. And I think, of course, it goes without saying that he puts the Hasbro version to shame in every single way. Like, you can tell the designers really loved the Alex Milne design on this figure and went all out in recreating it, whereas with Hasbro, they kind of thought, well, the fans kind of want this, but the parts forming, nah. This is a labor of love, and this is one of the reasons I love Iron Factory. And that's not even getting to his ridiculous weapons count. You can fold the gun out and he can hold it pretty well. And despite being somewhat pathetic for a gun, I don't know, the sculpt work just makes it look really, really good. It's not the best gun of the set. In fact, I'd say it's probably the worst gun of the set, but it complements the sculpt remarkably well. But you don't want to deal with the gun? Well, that's fine. Fold it back up again and stick it in the backpack using the dedicated tab on the side. Yes, it plugs into the back nice and securely and then gets covered up by the back perfectly. My word. Robot mode weapon storage in the back. They didn't have to do that, but they did. Remarkable. And that's still not enough for you? Well, these guns separate into a bazooka and 2 arm cannons with a fold down handle for the bazooka. And is that just not quintessentially Cliffjumper? Is that just not his character in a nutshell? Is that just not magnificent? Unfortunately, that cannon hole is not Siege Blast Effect compatible, but come on, he does so much already. And oh, look, it also stores on his back without impeding the pistol. Wow, so much weapon storage. I think my favorite would have to be the 2 pistols though. Not because they're the best, because I think they are pretty weak. The connection tabs don't quite fit into the hands all the way, but personal preference wise, I just love the dual pistol aesthetic. The one thing I really think would have been cool is if they used those molded in door handles to act as tabs for those, but he already does so much. There is so much to love here. I love the engineering that Iron Factory is doing these days. I love the way that they incorporate their accessories. Something has changed at Iron Factory. They have massively overhauled their designs and are making truly magnificent figures. There was a time where they were kind of iffy and just doing the Autobot cast, and I was like, okay. But with this, and with what they're doing now, I am so excited for them. They are really aiming to take back their mantle as the king of third-party legends, and if they keep this quality up, they really can. And again, despite all of his stuff, he is remarkably small at 3.5 centimeters by 8 centimeters. And now, for the last time this year, here he is next to a standard Legion figure coming in at roughly the same size, a standard Legends figure, a standard Earthrise Micromaster, and Crumb. And my word, what a magnificent end to this marathon. What a fantastic figure to end on. This figure has done amazing things to me and renewed my faith. In a company that started this whole trend off, well, they're taking their mantle back, and I have never been more excited. Everything I loved about Iron Factory Hound is present here, possibly even more so. The brilliant sculpt work, the brilliant vehicle mode, the brilliant articulation, the brilliant transformation, the brilliant paintwork, everything is here, and exceptionally good. I honestly can't believe that when I first got him I was disappointed by him. I'm not sure why, I guess I'm easily influenced by YouTube videos. Gotta be careful with that in the future. Even with what I say, don't always listen to it, just make your own opinions. But man, this is a definitive Cliffjumper, more so than any I've ever come across. And this sets the standard for what Iron Factory plans to do in the future. I can see it in their recent reveals. Things are changing, they are gearing up, taking things to the next level. Yes, it's a different aesthetic from Magic Square and New Age, but these have the potential to topple their dominance on the industry. Iron Factory has been in this industry for longer than any other third party, and have had the most consistent lineup I have ever seen in third party at all, and they are finally taking back their mantle, and I, for one, couldn't be more excited. Quick tangent though before we finish this video, thanks to today's sponsor, Robotoys. Robotoys specializes in Hasbro, Takara, third party, and Masterpiece figures. Generation Select Studio Series, Kingdom, pretty much everything you'd want. And of course, third-party Legends, which this marathon has covered. I know I haven't covered a lot of what Robo-Toys released this year, but that's because I wanted to focus on some more unique releases. And those I kind of bought before I knew about Robo-Toys, so I didn't really think about it. But they are typically my go-to source for small-scale third-party figures, and I will continue to use them for many years to come. Don't forget to use the code DrLock 10% off at the checkout, by the way. It's a one-time use code, and you probably should use it. It's self-explanatory as to what it is. So what does that mean for the future of third-party Legends? Well, the future is looking brighter than ever. New Age is chugging along with some amazing figures and some even more amazing repaints. Magic Square, I don't particularly know about. Their Combiner looks good, but I'm a bit concerned about it. And Iron Factory, well, we know they're going to bring some amazing releases coming in 2021. And I don't think these third parties are going to be taken down because Hasbro doesn't seem to be focusing on them at the moment. Jeez, who have we lost this year? Toy World, Weijang, DX9. Oh wait, that was just because they didn't pay their staff. But altogether it's shaping up to be a much better 2021, and it is going to provide me with a lot of material to work with. So until the next video, and until next year, keep on collecting small-scale figures. They are magnificent, whether from Hasbro or third-party, whether new or old. And even the shitty ones can still provide a decent bit of fun. So I'll continue doing it, and I hope to see you there. Again, a major thanks for joining me on this Legendary Marathon for these 20-something episodes. Now, I typically don't provide updates in videos because I feel they derail things and make the video dated, but I feel this time was appropriate. Unfortunately, given how awful 2020 has been, I know I didn't deliver as many full reviews this year, but I do still have one coming. It'll hopefully be out by the end of the year. If not, I am sorry, it is a bit of a complicated video and it is going to take some time to make, but I'll try to get it out as soon as possible. And that will be the conclusion for this year's Legendary Marathon. I don't think it's going to be as big as the Thunder Leader review, but it is going to be pretty big, so I don't know when it'll be out, but as I said, I'll try to get it done as quickly as possible. I think many people can guess what it's meant to be because I've alluded to it many times. But until then, I guess I'll see ya. And as for the 2 reviews that I ended up cancelling this marathon, I will still do them at a later date. I feel it's kind of necessary to do so because I really had some good scripts in there. But until then, see you next time.